Have you ever stopped to think about where the rules of our justice system actually come from? I mean, it's this huge process that impacts millions of people. But for most of us, it's kind of like a black box. Well, today, we're going to pry that box open and see how criminal justice policy is really made.
Right? It's a big question. Who's really writing these rules? Is it a bunch of academics in an ivory tower? Is it politicians just reacting to whatever's on the news that day? Or is it something else? Let's trace the path of an idea from the drawing board all the way to becoming a law. So, every policy has to start somewhere. And in a perfect world, it starts right here, with a solid blueprint built on a foundation of evidence. The goal is simple, but it's powerful. Let's use what we actually know works. And this is the key idea, a research-driven policy. It means we're moving past just going with our gut feelings or old habits. Instead, the whole foundation is built on hard evidence, on data, and on theories that have been tested, all to create strategies that have the best shot at actually working. You know, at the end of the day, this whole blueprint phase is about being intentional. The goal isn't just to make a knee-jerk reaction. It's to build a solution that's been carefully thought out, a policy that's actually effective, and, just as important, fair to everybody involved. That's the ideal starting point.
But you knew there was a but coming, right? Of course, it's never that simple. Because now that clean, perfectly designed, evidence-based blueprint is about to leave the quiet world of theory and enter a much, much messier and more unpredictable place.
And I think this captures the shift perfectly. You're moving out of a controlled environment, out of the lab where data is king, and you're stepping into an arena full of conflict, compromise, and some seriously powerful forces. And this is the central fight right here. On one side, you have that research-driven approach. It's all about the long game, what's going to be effective down the road. But on the other side, well, that's the influence-driven approach. This is about short-term political wins, about media cycles, and about the huge weight of public opinion, especially when an election is coming up. And these two forces, they are constantly battling it out. And our source material says it flat out. To really get a handle on how policy is made, you can't just look at the data. You have to grapple with the influence of politics and public pressure. And these aren't just small things on the side. A lot of the time, they're the most powerful forces in the room. They can shape a law way more than any research paper ever could. Okay, so a policy has been created. It was forged in the heat of that political arena, and now it's the law. But the job isn't over, not by a long shot. In fact, you could say the most important part is just getting started. These are the two questions that matter most. Once a new law is out there in the real world, especially a big, controversial one, we have to step back and ask, is this thing even doing what we wanted it to do? And maybe even more critically, is it doing it in a way that's just and fair for everyone? And to get real answers, the pros don't just guess. They follow a process, almost like a detective investigating a case. First, you have to be clear. What was the goal in the first place? Second, you measure. Is the policy actually hitting that goal? Third, you assess the impact. Is it fair? And then, and only then, based on all that evidence, can you propose smart reforms. It's a cycle, always trying to get better. So, to understand this whole thing, from the clean blueprint to the messy arena to the final evaluation, it takes a very specific set of skills. Let's break down what's in the essential toolkit, not just for professionals, but for any of us who want to really get what's going on with criminal justice policy. First on the list is analytical thinking. The best way to think about it is like being a mechanic for ideas. It's having the ability to look at a super complex law, pop the hood, take it apart piece by piece, and see how all those moving parts are supposed to work together to get a result. Next up is a skill that is just absolutely essential: ethical reasoning. See, it's not enough to know if a policy is efficient. You have to ask, is it right? This is the moral compass that has to guide the whole thing, forcing us to think about justice and fairness for every single person a policy might touch. And the third key skill, policy evaluation, is really where the rubber meets the road. This is the nitty-gritty work of putting that whole analysis cycle we talked about into practice. It's about systematically digging up the data and delivering a clear verdict. Did this policy actually work? And was it fair? And when you put all of these skills together, something really powerful starts to happen. You move past just having an opinion on something. You can actually understand where a policy came from, you can analyze its true impact, and then you can form a clear, reasoned stance, one that you can actually back up with real evidence. And that kind of leaves us with this final, really challenging question. After seeing the ideal blueprint and after seeing the messy reality of the arena, we have to ask ourselves, when the hard evidence is pointing one way, but public pressure and politics are screaming to go another, which one should win? And maybe more importantly, who gets to decide? That's definitely something to think about.